For decades, Japanese cars were the gold standard, reliable, efficient, and built with obsessive attention to detail. From the Honda Civic to the Lexus LS400, Japan set the benchmark for automotive excellence. Their secret? Relentless improvement, kaizen, and a mastery of the internal combustion engine. Factories became models of efficiency, and Japanese brands were symbols of national pride and technological prowess. The world bought in, and Japanese cars became ubiquitous from Africa to Australia. But this focus on perfecting combustion engines created a kind of tunnel vision. As the world began shifting toward electric vehicles, Japan's auto industry was slow to react, still celebrating its past achievements. Their greatest strength, mastery of traditional engineering, became a source of inertia. While they admired their view from the top, a new, taller mountain, electric mobility, was rising beside them. Just as Japan's automakers faced the electric revolution, the US threw a wrench into the works tariffs. The threat of steep import taxes forced Japanese companies to shift production to the US, investing billions in new factories. This move protected access to their biggest market but drained resources and focus from innovation. The intricate Japanese supply chain began to fracture as jobs and investment moved overseas. Instead of leading the charge into electrification, executives were bogged down in trade negotiations and logistics. The industry's mindset turned defensive, prioritizing market access over bold innovation. Meanwhile, China was quietly executing a long-term plan to dominate the next era of automotive technology. The tariffs didn't just cost money. They cost Japan precious time. While Japan was distracted, China was preparing to leap ahead. The American trade war became the perfect cover for China's ambitions. Japan was fighting yesterday's battles while tomorrow's were already underway. Back home, Japan's car market was quietly shrinking. An aging population and disinterested youth meant fewer new drivers and less demand. In cities with world-class public transport, cars became a burden, not a dream. The car lost its status as a cultural icon. Smartphones became the new must-have. With domestic sales falling, Japanese automakers grew even more dependent on exports, making them vulnerable to global shocks. Resources were spent on niche K cars for Japan, while global rivals focused on electric vehicles. As the home market faded, Japan's car industry lost its foundation at the worst possible time. While Japan hesitated, China changed the game. Instead of catching up in combustion engines, China made electric vehicles a national mission. The government poured resources into batteries, motors, and software, creating a hyper-competitive EV market. Massive subsidies and a protected market fueled dozens of new companies, all racing to innovate. China seized control of the battery supply chain, from mining to manufacturing. Companies like CATL and BYD became global giants, supplying batteries to the world. While Japan debated hydrogen and hybrids, China built the factories and infrastructure for the electric age. China leapfrogged a century of automotive development, leaving Japan looking stuck in the past. China's strategy to influence Japan's auto industry is a subtle, three-step takeover. First, battery dependency. Japanese automakers now rely on Chinese giants like KTL and BYD for their most critical EV components. Second, shared platforms. Chinese companies offer their EV chassis and software to Japanese brands, turning them from engineers into assemblers. Third, overseas production. Chinese firms build factories in Southeast Asia and invite Japanese partners to use them, ceding control of manufacturing. Each step seems practical, but together they erode Japan's industrial independence. Japanese brands risk becoming mere badges on Chinese technology. It's not a hostile takeover, it's a quiet absorption, one partnership at a time. The strengths that once defined Japan's auto industry are being hollowed out. The process is slow, but devastatingly effective. Japan's industrial fortress is being dismantled from within. Southeast Asia was once Japan's automotive stronghold. Japanese brands dominated the roads and built deep roots in local economies. But now, China is storming the region with affordable, tech-packed EVs. Chinese companies are building factories, charging networks, and entire supply chains in Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia. Governments offer subsidies, and Chinese firms move fast to seize the opportunity. Japanese automakers, slow to pivot, are losing ground to Chinese rivals month by month. In Indonesia, China is investing in the full battery supply chain, creating a vertically integrated empire. Local partnerships accelerate China's growth, while Japan scrambles to catch up. For the first time in decades, Japan is on the defensive in its own backyard. The regional balance of power is shifting, fast. China's approach isn't a dramatic takeover, it's absorption without acquisition. Japanese brands keep their names and headquarters, but the technology and manufacturing become Chinese. It starts with batteries, then motors, then entire platforms. Japanese companies become stylists and marketers, not engineers. The illusion of independence remains, but real control slips away. China gains leverage without the backlash of a hostile buyout. The Japanese brand becomes a shell. Its reputation used to sell Chinese technology worldwide. It's a brilliant, quiet strategy. Japan survives, but as a shadow of its former self. The core problem for Japan's carmakers is speed. Their traditional perfectionist approach worked for engines, but not for software-driven EVs. While Japan takes years to develop a new model, Chinese EV makers operate like tech startups, launching, updating, and iterating at lightning speed. Over-the-air updates and rapid innovation are the new norm. Japanese companies, bogged down by consensus and slow decision-making, can't keep up. Their first EVs feel outdated compared to China's feature-rich, affordable models. Hardware quality alone isn't enough. Consumers want smart, connected cars. Japan is trying to win a software race with a hardware playbook. The result? They're falling behind. The industry's culture must change or risk irrelevance. In the software age, speed is everything. Japan's automotive crisis is a national one. The industry has powered the economy and defined the country's global image for decades. Now, its decline threatens millions of jobs and the entire industrial base. As EVs require fewer parts and more software, traditional suppliers face extinction. If Japan becomes dependent on Chinese technology, the regional balance of power will shift dramatically. The challenge is immense. Embrace speed, software, and risk, or fade into history. The race is on and Japan is already behind. The land of the rising sun faces a future in the shadow of a new industrial giant.